What's up, guys? It's Josh here, back with another Kansas City Chiefs related video, and today we're going to be doing a position breakdown starting with the wide receiver position. I really want to talk about the wide receiver position on the Kansas City Chiefs, what I think the depth chart will look like, and who's going to make the 53-man roster. So wide receiver is a position group that the Chiefs have added a good amount to this offseason, and they also have a lot of returning guys that will be fighting for spots on the team. Even though there's concerns about who is going to emerge as the wide receiver 2 on the Kansas City Chiefs, I still think they have pretty formidable depth as far as guys that you could be comfortable with on the field that maybe don't separate themselves as that clear number 2, but can do a little bit of everything for you. So the hope would be that, a combination of guys would be able to replace the production of a Sammy Watkins, which, by the way, wasn't that much. I know even I am guilty of doing this, but I talk about Sammy Watkins so much as if his departure is like this huge thing. It's really not. I mean, yes, he was really good when he was on the field. Don't get me wrong. Sammy was great. He was by far the second best receiver on the team when he was healthy, but he was just never healthy to the point that his production isn't going to be that hard to replace. He only had like 400 yards and like 2 touchdowns in 2020. Like, you're telling me a combination of Pringle, Robinson, Hardman, and Cornell Powell can't replace that? I mean, I think that's actually, pretty attainable. But all of that being said, let's get right into it, and I'm going to predict who the Kansas City Chiefs are going to keep at wide receiver for next season. So I believe the Kansas City Chiefs will keep 6 wide receivers on the roster. They're definitely going to have their fair share of practice squad receivers too, I believe, especially since they got some guys that are definitely good enough to be on an NFL roster, but maybe just might not make the cut because of all the guys that they have. Some names that probably aren't going to make the cut that I still like as high upside guys are like, the UDFA Maurice French, Jody Fortson. I still don't know if he's lined up at tight end, wide receiver. There's so much mix up there. I don't know. And then you got Marcus Kemp, who's a special teams darling, and just all that kinds of stuff. But I'm just going to go ahead and give my top 6 names of who I think is going to make it. I'm going to kind of have it from the best to the worst. Not like worst as in they're bad, but just from best to worst. And I'm not really going to consider who's going to play the X, Y, Z, that kind of thing. That will be sorted out by the coaches. I'm just going to give you my 6 best guys. So number 1, of course, is Tyreek Hill. He's the unquestioned number 1 receiver, and he's one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, if not the best. He's the best deep threat in the NFL, and it's funny because, and I'll have to make a video on this in the future about Tyreek Hill, about what makes him so good, because and I even encountered this today on Twitter. There are so many NFL fans that think Tyreek Hill is only good just because he's fast and that he has no other elite traits. If that was the case, then every guy who was super fast like Tyreek would be a good receiver. But Tyreek is different because he has so many other elite traits, such as his ability to change direction, his contested catch ability because of the way he can jump and move his body. I mean, he's an elite wide receiver in every way, shape, form. He's a good route runner. He's got good hands. And if you asked anybody which wide receiver they'd want the most if they needed to score with 2 minutes left in the game, they'd all pick Tyreek Hill as their number 1 guy. He's already close to 50 career touchdowns. He's coming off multiple 1,000-yard seasons. And the Chiefs can also utilize him in the rushing game, and, he can win over the middle. He's great in underneath routes, just everything. He's the number 1 receiver. There's no debate. I'll have to make another video on that because I'm kind of fired up about it. But, Tyreek Hill's the number 1. Number 2, of course, will be Mecole Hardman. Now, I'm not saying Mecole Hardman is going to be the number 2, the X receiver in the Sammy Watkins role, but he's going to be the second best receiver because, look, I bag on Mecole a lot, but if he puts it all together, there's no debate he's going to be the number 2. He's by far the most talented of any of the receivers outside of Tyreek Hill. It's just up to Mecole to put in the work and get better and, really polish his game. But this guy was a second-round pick just a couple years ago, and he's got more talent than Demarcus Robinson. He's got more talent than Byron Pringle, so it would be kind of a shame if he didn't beat out those guys. And even though I've been really hard on Mecole, I'm really cheering for him to take that next step, and I think he can do it. This is a make-or-break year for him. If he can just beat that press a little bit more effectively, if he can win over the middle, not be afraid to take a hit, run through his routes, listen to his coaches, listen to Patrick, he'll have a good year. So, he'll be the wide receiver number 2. Number 3, I'm going to go with Byron Pringle. Byron Pringle, he's a guy that I've told Chiefs fans, you got to slow down a little bit. Like, people have talked about giving him a chance to be the number 2 wide receiver and all this stuff. And look, I mean, Byron Pringle, every time the Chiefs have asked him to step up, he's been fine. He's done his job. I've been impressed in limited snaps. I think he's someone that you can be comfortable with on the field. However, we're talking about a guy that has 300 career receiving yards in 3 years. And a lot of that has to do with the opportunity that he's gotten. If he were to get more snaps, more targets, I'm sure he would have more production. But that's asking a lot of a guy who hasn't really done anything. He is an undrafted free agent after all. But I will give this to Byron. He's got good speed. He is a solid route runner. Yeah, he's got a similar play style to a Sammy Watkins, which will bode well for him, maybe fighting for that number 2 receiver spot. And look, there is a chance he wins the number 2 receiver spot coming out of camp, but I think eventually the hope is that someone like Mecole or Cornell Powell is going to take that from him and slowly become a bigger part of the offense, and Byron will slowly start to fade to a role that is more suitable for him and the team. But yeah, I don't think it's unreasonable to think Byron Pringle could be your number 2, well, number 3, but your X receiver, so your number 2 on the field heading into next season. But the hope would be that eventually someone can take that spot from him. Because, the thing is, among the guys on my list, Byron Pringle is the only one who was not drafted. That's kind of a bad indictment on your draft picks if none of them can overtake Byron Pringle. So let's hope that is the case. Number 4, I'm going to go with Cornell Powell. I really think, this guy, we have to temper expectations for him a little bit, but I really think he can be effective as a rookie. He's a very polished receiver coming out of the draft because he spent that extra year at Clemson. He's coming from a big-time school where he had good production in his last season there when they finally gave him a chance. He's physical, he's big, he's strong, very disciplined, good route runner, good hands. He just does everything right. He's a student of the game. He's someone that doesn't complain, just comes in and he works hard every single day, and the Chiefs are going to love that work ethic. He's someone that I just think as the season goes on, he's going to start to take a bigger role in the offense, and people are going to be like, man, Cornell Powell, that guy was such a steal. Like our thoughts are going to be confirmed, and Cornell Powell is going to be great, and I'll have him starting out as the number 4 receiver on the depth chart. So yeah, I'm really excited for Cornell Powell, and he's definitely the dark horse kind of X factor of this receiver group. So let me know what you guys think about that one. I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts. All right, number 5, I'm going to go with Demarcus Robinson. Demarcus Robinson is a guy I thought for sure would land somewhere else this offseason, and the Detroit Lions actually offered him a contract, he said, but he ended up coming back to Kansas City on a similar offer. So he's back with the Chiefs again, and honestly, I'm going to be completely honest. I was really hoping he would just leave because, man, I was done with him after last year. And look, DeMarcus, I actually liked him. He was really coming into his own the past couple years leading up to this year. But man, this dude, he's running backwards everywhere. He's holding the ball out like crazy, fumbling the ball. There was one Raiders game where he stopped running his route and it got picked off because of that. Really disappointing year for Demarcus Robinson. And I know he said that he thinks he can be a 1,000-yard receiver, 10-touchdown guy this season. No, I'm sorry. DeMarcus, he's reached his ceiling. He is what he is. And I think everyone else that I've listed already before him, has more upside, could be better than him. And I really hope that that is the case because Demarcus Robinson has actually outsnapped Byron Pringle and Mecole Hardman the past 2 seasons, and I just don't agree with that. I get that Demarcus Robinson can do some things that Sammy Watkins can too, and the coaching staff likes him and stuff, but I just rather not see him, to be honest. I'm kind of just done with him. I mean, he's a good depth receiver, so having him as your number 5 is completely fine with me because he's a competent number 5, but I'm kind of done trying to make him like a featured guy in the offense. So that's just kind of my thoughts there. All right, and number 6, this is going to be a guy that I talked about, that I made a video on recently. That's Antonio Callaway. I really think, this guy is someone that if he had his head on right, he would be a number 2 receiver candidate. He would possibly be number 2 on this depth chart, but the problem is he's fallen off so much since his rookie year when he had like 600 yards receiving because his off the field troubles, and now he's with the Chiefs on that reserve future deal. If he doesn't make the team, I believe he'll at least be on the practice squad for a little bit, and he'll definitely be one of the first call-ups if the Chiefs decide to make one. But I definitely think he has the talent to at least be in that top 6. I mean, Antonio Callaway, if you go watch his highlights, he's someone that, will never be a number 1 receiver, but if the play breaks down for someone like Travis Kelce or Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes just needs something quick and he looks Antonio Callaway's way, 9 out of 10 times he's going to be open. He's good at getting separation. He's got decent speed, ran a 4.4 coming out of college, and I just really like the guy. And I'm really pulling for him because if he works out, the Chiefs could have struck gold with that pickup. So, I mean, I'm really hoping Antonio Callaway can have a resurgence this year, crack the Chiefs' top 6, get on the field, and actually make an impact. And worst case scenario, he could also contribute on special teams as well. So that's pretty much it. Those are my top 6 receivers. That's who I think will make the 53-man roster as far as wide receivers go. There are some names that I left out that could potentially make some noise. So if you guys think that I left anyone out, let me know in the comments. What do you agree with? What do you disagree with? Let me know. Let's get some discussion and debate going. But all that being said, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so more Chiefs fans can find this video. And make sure you check out my work on kckingdom.com and showmefootball.com. That's all I got for today. Peace.